May the 13th, 2018, and I want to get into this post in a little bit of detail because I want you guys to completely understand it. And I want people in the future to be able to understand it. So it's post number 1343. It says, they attempted to infiltrate, repackage, and rebrand as their own profit vehicle. So let's take a look at what he's talking about. Now, in order to do that, we've got to go back to post 1340, where he introduced us to a Reddit article. And here it is. I didn't go over it at the time. I just brushed over it at the time. But it was on the Great Awakening. It was posted by a used Serial Brain 2. It says, the long and secret info wars against Q and how he stayed alive. You really need to know this and move on. This is important. You really need to know it. He says, I promised there would be a follow-up to my post about Q 1295. And he left a link to that one. As many among you already know, Dr. Corsi is just the tip of the iceberg. There are dark forces at work trying to divide us, hijack Q's work and our movement. I will show you today who these dark forces are and how they are related to Dr. Corsi. So we get into this in some detail. Those who think this issue should be put to rest for the sake of unity, this is my response. 1. If Q himself has spoken about it here, and he leaves a link to where Q posted, after having put up with these dark forces trying to undermine him for months, he must have some kind of intel pushing him to react. A glass of fine wine mixed with water is no longer fine wine, and it's certainly not water. And when a snake enters the house, there is no time for poetry. You secure the kids, close the doors, and do what you have to do. The truth has a price, my friends, and no strong movement in human history has succeeded avoiding the issues challenging its foundations. So we go on. Q's first days were not easy at all. Immediately after his first post in October 2017, a violent information war was launched against him to ridicule him and silence him. All sorts of vicious information war techniques were used against him, and I will show you some of them in this post. So we're going to get into that. Now, there was a YouTuber, there is a YouTuber that's covering QAnon, Jordan Sather, and he does a really good job. His main expertise is free energy and the secret space program and topics like that, but he decided to cover Q, and he really did a good job with it. Well, when InfoWars went to introduce Q onto their platform, they invited Jordan onto the program to introduce Q. Now, he was all excited about it. And who wouldn't be? It was his first shot at being in a big mainstream media program. But, you know, they've got people working for them that are real experienced. Roger Stone is an ex-CIA operative. And actually, he is Alex Jones's handler. Not a lot of people know that, or not as many as should know that. But he's Alex Jones's handler. He was put in place to keep Alex in check, basically. So Roger was involved in doing this interview with Jordan, and he was leading the conversation. They had the questions written out ahead of time, so they knew where this was going. They knew how they were going to control it. Take a look at this video. Here's a clip of Jordan introducing QAnon on the Alex Jones program.
by the moniker of Q. We don't know if it's a person. We don't know if it's a group. They've been going onto 4chan and leaking what's been called breadcrumbs. So it's basically a bunch of information that it's suggestive in nature. It's nothing direct, but there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of symbols even. There's a lot of inferences that are made to basically make people research. They'll type in these things. They'll try to find connections between these, quote, breadcrumbs that the Q or Q-ANON or Q clearance patriot is leaving onto 4chan. And ever since this, we've been seeing a huge, I mean, I'm not necessarily an expert on 4chan. You read the posts and run with them. But there's been a huge infestation of trolls onto 4chan, so much so that some of these posts have migrated onto a sister site that's not affiliated with 4chan. It's called 8chan. But anyway, these posts are still being made on this 8chan by this Q person. And when you look at these pieces that are laid, these questions that are asked, we don't know. None of it is confirmed. It's all alleged and supposed, but it's very interesting how this all intertwines. And a lot of these questions almost verify things that have been called fake news or have been called quote conspiracy theory for years. And the way these posts point to this big picture of a behind the scenes civil war almost between different intel agencies and between an alliance per se fighting the deep state. It's quite amazing when you really look at it.
One of the more recent revelations I understand that actually panned out was a reference to what happened in Saudi Arabia. Can you give us a little bit into, a little insight into that? Because I think that's one of the more validating, I guess, posts that came out ahead of events unfolding.
Exactly. And this is one of the few pieces that allow us to see that this might be a very real person or group leaking information is what happened in Saudi Arabia. So at the beginning of November, there were suggestions by this Q to look at what he termed SA, and that leads to Saudi Arabia. A few days later, we saw the huge shakeup occur in Saudi Arabia, the sweep of hundreds of officials arrested. We saw multiple princes over there, all arrested for corruption. And Prince Al-Walid, who has a large stake in Twitter and who has direct connections to the Clinton Foundation and many other people who have been, it's said, a part of this deep state. So, that's one of the crumbs that connects, that allows us to see that, wow, this might be very real and discussing real events occurring behind the scenes that we're just trying to gather.
Here's where Roger Stone introduces a leading question to insinuate that Q might be a bot or might be a bunch of people typing this information. He wants to rebrand Q. It's part of the process they use. It's very subtle, but if you're paying attention, you'll understand it.
Jordan, I wrote in my book, The Making of the President 2016, that I believed that it was only the rise of a vibrant and robust alternative media that allowed for the election of Donald Trump. Now, I myself have seen graphically how bots, or perhaps humans, on the internet seek to counter this vibrant alternative media with disinformation, shadow banning, and other computer techniques to limit our reach and to cut us off from those who follow us. I myself, of course, have been banned for life on Twitter. We'll see about that. But tell us, is it possible that the deep state has as many as 10,000 human beings sitting there all day? I thought they were all in the basement at Media Matters for America, but perhaps not. Exactly what's going on?
Now, Roger Stone, he phrased that question in a very interesting way, because he phrased it to lay claim to the alt media. So he was laying claim to the alt media and saying that, gosh, there are bots on the internet that might be infiltrating and limiting our reach. So he was laying claim to that he was the real alt media, and that QAnon might be a bot that's infiltrating and laying claim and shadow banning type of thing to keep his alternate media from expanding, when all the while Roger Stone is an ex-CIA agent, and so he knows all about techniques like this, and he's very aware of what he's doing. He's laying claim to QAnon and saying the alt media belongs to us. QAnon is stealing our audience, and I'm going to steal it back. That's pretty much what he's saying there. And he phrases a question to poor Jordan, who doesn't have any experience, in a way that Jordan has trouble answering it here. So could these things be bots? Could this QAnon be bots? And that was his insinuation. And poor Jordan has a tough time. He does a real good job answering the question, but he has a tough time with it. And you can tell he's a little frustrated by what was asked. And that was very leading on the point of Roger. He was in control. Ex-CIA guy. Handler. So now, several months later, Alex Jones comes on at Christmas time with an urgent message. And this is where they want to rebrand Q. And rather than just introduce Q as a bot, they want to take Q's followers and bring them over to InfoWars. So by introducing Zach as a really good intelligence source and as a maybe Q, why a bunch of Q's followers string on over to the Alex Jones channel. And you know that happened. I mean, a bunch of people went over there. And of course, you know, Corsi's there, and they're all over there, and they sell product, they sell books, they take money, they have Patreon pages, they have special content behind a wall. They have all this stuff. And I can understand why it pissed Q off. Now, most of us that were following Q didn't realize this was even happening. But Q's an astute entity. And military intelligence, they know what's going on. They're not going to allow this. They're not going to be taken down. They're not going to allow somebody to take over. This is their military intelligence. They have a mission, and they're going to accomplish their mission. But this is in December when Alex comes on with his real urgent message to try to introduce Zach as Q. So here we go.
It's Christmas Eve, and I have come into the office to stream this emergency transmission on YouTube and Facebook because if this doesn't get major attention, and if this doesn't break through into the public's psyche, the globalists have a decent chance of killing the president in the next 2 weeks.
If this doesn't break through into the public's psyche, if this doesn't get out, if you guys don't spread this word, if you guys don't repost this and spread it out to everybody, somebody might kill the president. This is urgent. Now, can you see what he's doing?
And taking over the media, using the emergency alert system, the Obama kill switch that's still in place, to really bring this country into a civil emergency, is what they'll call it, but it's really martial law. Now, in the last few months, I have followed, but never really spoken of, Q-ANON, or Q-Anonymous. And a lot of what QAnon has said, I already had gotten separately from my White House sources, my Pentagon sources, my CIA sources. And folks know we have amazing sources. It's been a big issue in the media trying to keep the president from getting our information and the president giving us information.
I've got amazing sources. I've got such amazing sources that it's even a big issue with the president. My sources are so good. I am full of poop all the way up to my ankle, and maybe farther.
One of those sources is public. His name's Zach, and we know who he is. He's a famous former member of Army Special Operations and the whole Joint Forces operation out of Florida. And he is part Muslim. His mother was Muslim, and comes from some of the more wealthy folks in Morocco, where he is now. And some of the things he said on air were so serious, he was picked up by the FBI and taken to the U.S. military base. He was then released, and he has gone to Morocco, where he believes it's safer for him to be able to even call into the show. I'm probably going to have to get in touch with him today and get him back on for another emergency transmission in the next few days, just to go over all this intel. He doesn't want to give me a lot of the intel now, obviously, because he's under massive scrutiny. But I have other sources as well that are saying what he's telling me is dead on. So before I get into all of this, I want you to listen to me very, very carefully. Very, very carefully. I don't just go off my intel sources that have been proven to be right over and over again. I go off of watching the globalists and what they're doing in the media. Now, what does QAnon say? QAnon doesn't even basically say who they are. They just say that they have sources. Well, there was a plan in November to take Trump out. Clapper and Brennan and others had signaled this on national television at the Aspen Institute in October. We played those clips. They said he's going to be taken out in the next month or so, next 2 months, and that it's not going to be judicial, it's not going to be legislative, it's not going to be impeachment. There's a Wolf Blitzer clip. We've played it probably 30 times. And you've got Phil Mudd, the former counterterrorism head of the CIA, that's the group that has the teeth in it, saying the government's going to kill Trump. That's a signal that we're strong, we're moving ahead, we're on target, to people in the cells, in the groups. Now, I was made aware of contingency operations to stop this when the president was president-elect. And I was made aware of the groups that were involved by multiple sources, people that have been in Delta Force, people that have been high-level Navy SEALs, and it's not the people you see on the shows. It's not Craig Sawyer, former leader, SEAL Team 6. It's not Tonto, Toronto, the hero of Benghazi who comes on as a friend. But it's people of that caliber.
I've got such good sources, and so many good sources that I've got them running out my ears. They're just all over the place. I've got good sources on the shows. I've got good sources that I listen to. I use a lot of good sources. I am just super. I mean, this guy's just full of it. And most people have listened to him for years and taken him at his word. No more for me. That's for darn sure. No more for me. I'm done with Alex Jones.
Delta Force, high-level Navy SEALs, CIA. And they told me how Trump was being protected during the campaign, and during the transition by Eric Prince and by a breakaway group of CIA that's pro-U.S., and I was even given the names, and that they appreciated what I was doing and were watching our six, and we even had issues where people came into town to try to get me. We were given intel that was spot on. I mean, this is like a movie, but it's real, okay? And so I was reached out to by those groups, and then I confirmed with the president, indeed, that was going on, just in a brief conversation about the subject.
My sources are so good, I even talked to the president. I have great sources. And just maybe, Zach is Q.
And about our mutual friends. And then, of course, it came out in The Intercept about a month ago, and then in Politico that Trump's creating a private group of, intelligence operatives and all the rest of this. But I can tell you, again, the only way to do this is just lay it all out, because I don't want to get into things I'm not supposed to get into, but I also want people to understand how real this is. Flynn was sent in to the Trump organization by others that didn't want to put themselves on the radar, and was basically asked to go in and do this because everybody else was scared to. So Flynn was basically the only guy willing to be the public person of the Resurgence of America organization, the Make America Great Again organization, that actually wants to bring the power back to the country and likes free market and likes religious freedom and, aren't globalist assholes. So, who don't want to sell us out to radical Islam and the whole leftist agenda. I mean, there are people like that, and they know what the American people are upset, and so the American people have woken up. The American people are involved. The InfoWars audience has been involved. Matt Drudge has been involved. So there's a perfect storm of this stuff aligning. Now, QAnon, a lot of what I saw QAnon say was really good intel and is spot on with other intel I had, and was trying to warn people that they're going to try something in November, but the legs got cut out from under that, so they were unable to do it. But they said on CNN, on MSNBC, at the Aspen Institute, we're taking him out in the next 2 months. That was the signal. Very arrogant signal, but to look confident with their networks that are dwindling. The Saudis have cut off the money to the Clinton networks and the globalist and the traitors in our intelligence agencies that have been bought out by the communist Chinese and the Saudi Arabians, who the Chinese use as a pass-through for the money. This group's been cut off by Benjamin Netanyahu inside Israel. That's why you've seen all that going on. So as I address YouTube and Facebook here, and everybody else, I'm just going to lay this out as best I can. But I basically know from sources who QAnon is. I know that it is someone being given information secondarily from within the private security network. It's like a stay-behind network from the original Republic.
I basically know who QAnon is. He's part of this network of people that I am familiar with. I mean, this guy is blowing smoke. And this is after QAnon says, no comms any place but this board. No outside private comms, anything like that, should be discarded as fake news. So here's Alex blowing smoke.
Call it, of people inside U.S. intelligence agencies that have a long track record of being patriots and who aren't globalist and who don't like seeing America get screwed over. So I know what QAnon's being given as real intel, and I basically know who is giving him the intel. And this is the best thinking that the very individuals you read about in the Intercept article and others, I'm not going to get into my information, I'm just going to leave it what's already public source, believe the enemy's up to and the chatter they're getting. So they want to take Trump out in November, but we dodge it. And people go, oh, look, QAnon's not right. It didn't happen. Folks, they're all over the news saying they're going to take him out. Then they go, oh, the storm's not real. We see Hollywood going down. We see the top globalists in Hollywood going down. The same folks are trying to take out Netanyahu, that whole leftist globalist arm, and trying to take out Trump. So it's one about Netanyahu. These are the players. They're trying to take him out, take out the people that actually don't want to overthrow Israel. It's in the WikiLeaks that George Soros says we're going to overthrow Israel. We're going to get rid of it. Israel finally saw that. It was like, my God, the Hollywood left is this bad. The Hollywood left, the Jews in the Hollywood left are so anti-Israel, so evil, that they're actually double-crossing with the Islamicists and everybody else. I mean, it's incredible. So that was a big come-to-Jesus moment, no pun intended, for Israel. And people that just aren't pure evil, I mean, it's just getting down to this point. So, again, this information's out there. I'm seeing what QAnon's saying. It's tracking with my intel that I'm getting from a spectrum of good sources. And then we announced a week and a half ago, McCabe is going to resign. Now he's announced he's going to retire yesterday. That's the interim director that got caught staging the whole fake dossier and has been caught. FBI Deputy Director McCabe retiring after Trump insurance policy debacle. That's Zero Hedge up on Infowars.com. The day before that, we have Schmidt of Google, the founder of Google, the head of Google, a total globalist cutout group organization. He is stepping down reportedly because of the information that's known about him and what goes on in his airplanes. Just think Jeffrey Epstein. And all the censorship and everything else. So the storm is here. You see the tax cuts. You see the border 70% secured in less than a year. You see $4+ trillion in the stock market. You see 2 million new jobs. You see all these companies signaling we're with America with $2,000 and $1,000 bonuses to their employees. As they announce, we're not going to have a 38.9% tariff while China has a 15%. Globalism's over. Selling America out is over. Bring the money back. And Trump's winning doing this. Other cowards in the corporations and people that were on the fence who don't want to be traitors but were bullied into it, they're going, okay, we're with you. And so everybody's jumping ship now. I'm getting chills. Over to make America great again. God, this is so incredible. This is real. This is happening. You see Vanity Fair coming out saying, Hillary, go away. You see CNN saying, Hillary, go away. All their dirt, all their threats, it's all imploding. Then you see the New York Times last week, the real coup plot is Trump's. So the Democrats are everywhere saying hashtag hunt Republicans, kill Republicans. The Democrats are everywhere saying we're going to overthrow him. Antifa's going to hit the streets, overthrow everybody. Soros doubles down, puts $18 billion in, but nobody shows up because they understand now they're being infiltrated by Americans. It's not even intelligence agencies. Americans are going and infiltrating these groups. Americans are taking the gloves off. I'm going to leave it at that. But it's not pretty right now. So, listen, the war is already on, folks. We didn't wait for them to come attack us. We didn't wait with all their damn threats and the rest of it. That's what happened. That's what's happening right now. You're seeing a slick American counter coup to the globalists that they're calling a coup because the criminals that have hijacked the country and all their little minions that bet on it, they were wrong. They failed. Even infiltrators in my own organization got involved in all this, and we're sure we were all going to fail. Trump's not failing. I'm not failing. America's not failing. We're winning. You understand? And that's your Christmas present on Christmas Eve. So they're calling it a coup because it's justice. It's the crimes they've committed, the uranium one, the pedophilia, the money laundering, all of it. And the executive order Trump signed to seize money connected to trafficking in people, women and children and slaves, and money connected to drug dealing and all of the stuff. And they're all having to step down right now. And that's just the beginning. So the storm is real. That's our storm of justice and resistance and standing up.
That's our storm. He's taken the storm in. That's our storm, and he does that like that. That brings the storm into him. That's our storm.
But the globalists are going to have a counterstrike. And Zach, who's been calling in for a couple years, but really started dropping heavy info on us about a year ago, got called in by the FBI. He sent us all of it. We've been talking to him, his lawyers, you name it. He's a famous member of Special Operations for the work he's done. His first name's Zach. Can't believe people haven't figured this out yet. And he's had to leave the country because there's still stay-behind networks in the FBI that are globalist. And he's been picked up. He's been drug into Tampa, Florida, and told, you know, and all his computers and everything grabbed, trying to find something. Nothing was there. They had to release him. Plus, most people actually agree with him. He's not giving me anything secret, but he's giving you, from the secret knowledge he has, an analysis and a briefing that is from secret information. You see the two different things? He's not breaking the law. He's giving you an analysis and a briefing.
And Zach has secret information. He has knowledge that other people don't have. Secret information.
From the information he has. And he laid out exactly what happened at Vegas. It's now come out. Saudi Civil War. He laid out exactly. And he laid out exactly what was about to happen weeks ago on the show about McCabe, Google, all of it. Before Anon even released this, QAnon, he was saying it. Is he QAnon? I don't know if Zach's QAnon. I know who Zach is.
And there he goes. I don't know if Zach's QAnon, but I know who Zach is. So he's trying to rebrand Q and bring him in as Zach. And that's exactly what he was trying to do there.
I know that whoever is giving QAnon their information is on the deck of the ship, is close to the president, is part of the security detail. Whoever's giving the information, either it's someone in the security detail or they're giving it to someone. The photos out the window on Air Force One right before the Trump lands, all of it. Because I know, because the info they're getting is on target. Now, people could spoof QAnon. There's other issues, but everybody's obsessing on QAnon, and QAnon's great. The point is that we have the swamp being drained. We have the resignations. We have the FBI releasing 3 weeks ago the devastating emails and text messages.
So they attempted to infiltrate, repackage, and rebrand as their own. It was a profit vehicle. They were taking profit. Destroy through misinformation. That's what they did. They tried to destroy QAnon through misinformation and then absorb the confused. They wanted to take the people that were confused about what was going on. Well, maybe QAnon isn't real. So those people would stick with Alex Jones. Q says action was needed, too. One, to prevent false decodes and misinformation. And that's true. Of course, he could have miscoded something and just run away with it. And two, to kill targeted infection prior to expansion. A lot is going to be happening. There's going to be expansion of this operation. We know it. I mean, it's going to continue. We're in the baby stages at this point. Simple, non-direct statements were made. Q didn't target anybody. He said, be careful who you follow. Some are profiting off this movement. And as soon as he said that, message sent, message received. Those guilty immediately reacted predictably. Jerome Corsi and Alex Jones immediately reacted with a violent upheaval. We're going to see that in a minute. The timetable accelerated, and the misinformation attack, it was exposed. So let's take a look at this exposure, this misinformation attack. Let's see what Alex and Corsi did right after QAnon said some are profiting off this movement.
QAnon put out a lot of exclusive info that was accurate, made a lot of predictions that were accurate up front. Then a lot of things started to be said that weren't exactly accurate or didn't happen. And then I noticed mainstream media and online, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube wouldn't block you when you were promoting that. And I thought, that's a little suspicious. But I talked to people I know in the military and others. They said, no, we know some of the people on those boards using that name. There's only 5 or 6 people. But then it started getting a little bit weird. And they said, no, somebody's hijacked it and basically hacked it and is using it and is now putting out disinformation. But separately, people like Zach, super good source. I know his full name, who he is. We got a lot of other big sources in the military. I mean, I've got sources, I'm not going to say from what units or groups, but the most elite, of the most elite, highest level, we have it.
We've got the best sources there are. And even Zach is one of the best sources. We've got the highest sources in the military. Q's been hacked. That 8chan board is sucky. It's not worth your time of day. But the sources we've got, boy, they're top notch. So stick with Alex Jones and keep buying our products.
I'm going to leave it at that. CIA, Dev Group, Delta Force, you name it, all of it, whole 9 yards, because they're patriots. And they know what this country is in right now, where we're going. And Dr. Corsi's written 3 #1 New York Times bestsellers. He's changed elections. He's got amazing sources. He got told by the White House 6 months ago, hey, we like QAnon. But now that's not the case. And so I was on the phone this morning and talked to some folks who are out playing golf with people that have been involved in QAnon. They say, hey, that's been taken over. We're unable to even post anymore. That's not us anymore. And then Corsi was right on the same line 2 days ago in private conversations we had saying, hey, it's been compromised. Then didn't even talk about it on air. Then I was separately told this by QAnon. So I'm going to say again, I've talked to QAnon.
I've talked to QAnon. And QAnon told me that the 8chan board was compromised. Look at the look on that man's face. He's full of poop up to his neck at this point. He's just blowing smoke. He hasn't talked to anybody. Q said, no comms outside this board. And so there he is lying his tail off. And Corsi is lying his tail off. And these people are down in QAnon and saying that he's not a reliable source. It's baloney. That is baloney.
There's only about 5-6 people that have actually been posting. I've talked to QAnon, and they're saying QAnon is no longer QAnon. So, Dr. Corsi, tell us about your angle on this.
Well, it's very similar to yours, I think, Alex. You're correct. I think the White House for a long time did support QAnon. I've been following it since December. And then periodically there would be cyber attacks and it would shift. It was clear that the QAnon identity was under attack. The real shift occurred really on April 28th. That's when I really began concluding that QAnon was now completely hijacked by a psyop operation that had hijacked the identity and was starting to publish disinformation designed to destroying the movement and dividing the movement. The posts changed in quality in their content. We started to get attacks on people profiteering, making money. You know, you can't make any money on the patriot movement if you.
So we started to see a fog of confusion attacking the platforms. Yes.
And no leader. I mean, first of all, no leader like QAnon. Why would you attack prominent spokespeople in the movement, attacking me for writing a book and making money on writing a book? And so I began to get then just inundated with troll type emails and postings on Twitter attacking me for profiteering. Even though I've been one of the most prominent supporters of Q, the whole movement began to turn on me.
And by the way, your book is about the conspiracy to overthrow the president with the fake Russiagate, nothing to do with QAnon, even though there's some in the book. So that's how the distraction began. So the identity got grabbed. You, one of the people promoting the original real QAnon, began getting demonized as the public spokesperson, basically QAnon. I mean, that's what you'd become. And so now we go the rest of the way. But I was told months ago it was compromised.
So Q says they attempted to infiltrate, repackage, and rebrand as their own. A profit vehicle. And that's exactly what these people did. Destroy through misinformation. Absorb the confused. Follow Alex Jones if you want. Reroute traffic to other platforms. Follow Jerome Corsi if you want. Action was needed. 1. Prevent false decodes and misinformation. That's the key. We got to prevent false decodes. Somebody was not decoding things right. 2. Kill targeted infection prior to expansion. More is coming. Lots more is coming. I'm not done yet. Simple, Non-direct statements were made. Q didn't say much. He didn't say, go get Alex Jones, go get Jerome Corsi. He said, be careful who you follow. Some are profiting off this movement. So, message sent, message received. Those guilty immediately reacted predictably. The guilty parties outed themselves. Timetable accelerated. Misinformation attack. They had to accelerate their timetable and attack saying this is misinformation, Q's misinformation. They were going to use him a while longer, but they couldn't. They were forced into this. They were exposed. They attempted to divide, and they did. So we responded. House cleaning. Heal the core. All right, you guys, it's time to get back to it now. It was important to clean prior to events. Lots more is coming. There's lots more posts today that we've got to go over. The choice will always be yours. This is not a game. It's not a game. I'm not playing around here. Q isn't playing. This is real. This is life. This is what's going on. This is not a popularity contest. It's not about who can be popular and who can suck in the most followers. This is life. Freedom. This is about freedom. That's what this is about. We the people. Where we go one, we go all. Time to move on. And it is. It's time to move on. Get back to business. Get back to what we're really here for. Dark to light. Attacks will only get worse. Truth is freedom. The truth has to come out so that we can have freedom. Truth is logic. Stay the course. Q. Beautiful there, wasn't it? Next post. 1344. Q just brings up an image of something that he wants to remind us about. He gave this to us back on January the 8th. It says, important. No private comms. I didn't talk to Alex Jones. Past, present, or future. I've never talked to anybody outside this board. I'm not doing it now, and I'm not ever going to do it. No private comms. No private comms. No comms made outside of this platforms. That means none. Any claims that contradict the above, go back to no private comms, should be considered fake news and disregarded immediately. Where we go one, we go all. Patriots. Q. We're all together in this, guys. So, let's move on. Let's move on.